This week, the PlayStation 4 hits shelves in Australia, New Zealand, Europe, and Brazil. If you want to know which games you should play on Sony's latest console, we've got all the details right here. We also caught up with Ken Schramm from Sucker Punch Studios to talk about launch window title Infamous Second Son, while Jonny Robot spent his time sailing the seven seas with Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. This is Player Attack. Well, both consoles are officially on sale around the world now, and Microsoft has stepped out with some impressive first-day numbers for the Xbox One. More than 1 million consoles were sold within the first 24 hours, and that is a new Xbox hardware sales record. There are some more numbers for you too. In the same 24 hours, gamers drove more than 3.6 million miles in Forza 5. They dispatched 8.5 million baddies in Rise, came up with 7.1 million combos in Killer Instinct, and killed more than 60 million zombies in Dead Rising 3. But there's always a catch. Sony announced earlier this month that it had sold more than 1 million PlayStation 4 consoles in the first 24 hours. The big difference? The Xbox One launched in 13 different territories around the world, while the PS4 pulled similar numbers after an initial release in just 2, the United States and Canada. There's some more bad news for Xbox fans too. While gamers around the world are repeating Xbox on, New Zealand, Austria and Ireland are remaining quiet with no voice control enabled in those regions. The 11th hour announcement echoes the one we heard when Kinect was launched for the Xbox 360, with the company then blaming the complexity of solving for languages and accents. A slightly more widespread issue is affecting Xbox audiophiles. The Xbox One does not support Dolby Digital encoding at launch due to a software scheduling bug. Dolby support is coming post-launch, but Microsoft is not shedding any light on just when. In other news, gaming icon John Carmack has left id Software, the company he co-founded back in the early 90s. The Doom creator has officially parted ways with the studio in order to focus his attentions on hardware company Oculus, home of the groundbreaking Rift virtual reality headset. He had been working in both places since August, but explains he had been struggling with the divided focus, and his technical advisor role at id just didn't work out. The change is not expected to affect the day-to-day workings at the developer, where the team is hard at work on Doom 4. Across the country in California, the team at Crystal Dynamics is also hard at work developing a new Tomb Raider title, but we are hearing stories that Lara Croft might be heading to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One as well. A new definitive edition of the 2013 release has been leaked by an Italian retailer, featuring graphical updates and all of the post-launch DLC. The studio also registered a trademark for Tomb Raider Reflections, and were promised new news about what's in store in early December. Believe it or not, you could have the chance to play a new Blizzard game before the end of the year. Reaper of Souls, the new expansion for Diablo 3, will be entering beta testing in the next month or so, and you could be a part of it. The game's Friends and Family beta has just kicked off, with 3,000 of the world's most active Diablo 3 players invited to play the game. Blizzard promises an official closed beta soon, so if you want in on this, you'd better make sure your Battle.net account has opted in for beta access. In Japan news, Kyoto police have arrested a man for reportedly making threats against Nintendo. The 25-year-old used an online feedback form to name 2 company executives that he would kill sooner or later, and described planting bombs at Nintendo HQ. The bombs and murders were not carried out, but the arrested man has admitted to his actions, seemingly driven by a desire to see the company bankrupted. Gran Turismo 6 is headed our way, landing exclusively on the PS3 from December 6th, and we've just been told that Sony's racer, like so many other modern titles, will contain microtransactions. While it is quite possible to earn things the hard way, this new revelation means that you can hand over your real-world money in exchange for virtual car upgrades, paint jobs, or racing suits. We don't yet know how much in-game credits will set you back, but they will be available through a number of channels. And speaking of Gran Turismo, we've also received some shiny new details on the upcoming movie adaptations that we first heard about back in July. Do you remember the story of Lucas Ordóñez? He loved Gran Turismo so much that he used his game playing skills to become a professional racer, gaining a podium finish at Le Mans in 2011. Now, Polyphony Digital, Sony and Columbia Pictures have teamed up to bring Lucas's story to the big screen with a storyline from Watchmen writer Alex Say. And for something completely different, a New Zealand pizza house has designed an augmented reality game that will put the undead inside your dinner. If you live in the right part of the world, simply order a meal from Hell Pizza, download the smartphone app, and then point your mobile device at the pizza box. Your meal will instantly transform into an urban map where zombies run rampant. Yeah, it's a simple game, dare we say it's a little bit cheesy, but if you get the high score, you are eligible to win free food from the pizza place. We're never going to argue with that. And to keep up to date with the latest gaming news, head to playerattack.com. But for now, stick around, we've got plenty more still to come.
It's a good year to be a gamer. Not one, but 2 brand new consoles have just arrived in time for the holiday season. Last week we looked at the Xbox One, so this week it's time for the PlayStation 4, which has just launched in Europe, Australia, New Zealand and Brazil, 2 weeks after hitting the United States and Canada. Want to know what games to get? You are in the right place.
It's a trap.
Of course it is.
You're one of them.
Metropolis will be history.
First up, Injustice: Gods Among Us Ultimate Edition. It's a re-released version of the fighting game published earlier this year, but it's been nicely polished up for the next-gen platform. It's basically a DC Comics interpretation of the popular Mortal Kombat style fighting game, with characters like Superman, Batman and Wonder Woman duking it out in an alternate universe. On the PS4, the game also uses the DualShock 4 touchpad in several new Star Labs missions, and there are some serious graphical upgrades. The other major difference? The inclusion of all of this year's DLC. That means you have a bunch of great character skins at your fingertips, as well as the ability to play as Lobo, Barbara Gordon's Batgirl, Scorpion, General Zod, Martian Manhunter, and Zatanna right out of the box.
The things I've done. A better person would feel bad. Me? Got no apologies.
Driving games are always a good benchmark for a new console, and with Gran Turismo 6 remaining a PlayStation 3 exclusive, Need for Speed Rivals is our petrolhead pick of the launch lineup. If you played Hot Pursuit, you should be familiar with the idea behind this one. You play as either a cop or a racer, and each side has its perks and downfalls. With more than 100 miles of open road, you're looking at jumps, speed traps, and plenty of unlockable cars, all running on EA's amazing Frostbite engine. Far from being a straight-up racer, there's a bit of demolition derby thrown in there for kicks. But the real joy of Rivals comes, again, from the next-gen graphics. Running at 1080p, the weather and terrain are breathtaking, and the cars themselves are, shall we say, appropriately shiny. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag brings the pirates to the new console, taking the popular franchise to the high seas. Ubisoft has learned a lot from its mistakes made in Assassin's Creed 3 and has presented a brand new take on the series. We've got a new hero, a new storyline, and one of the prettiest games we've seen in a long time.
Now you're ready to sail for the Horn. Play, roll and go. The anchor's on board and the cables are stored.
She fancies you, lad.
Dandy, dandy, ho. Come breast the bars, bullies, heave away.
Don't go thinking there's no free running, rooftop climbing and leaps of faith in this one. There are cities dotted around the pirate map in Black Flag, and they've been well designed for climbing and acrobatics. Level design's been beefed up, stealth missions are stealthier, and we really like the fact that collecting sea shanties increases the variety of tunes your crew will spontaneously launch into. Grabbing this one on PS3 or PS4 will get you extra content too. 3 extra missions focusing on Aveline, the main character from Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. Most of the PlayStation 4 launch lineup is made up of sequels and new titles in long-running franchises. But one of the standout titles is a brand new project, from a downloadable title from a studio that brought you Super Stardust HD and Super Stardust Delta. Resogun is a side-scrolling twin-stick shoot-'em-up exclusive to the PlayStation 4, and it's one of the most surprising, most impressive launch titles we've seen on any platform. If you've played old-school games like Asteroids, you'll have a rough idea of what to expect. Now, take that simple gameplay and wrap it up in the shiniest, most beautiful wrapping paper you could find, add a ribbon, add some more ribbons, add a big bow and maybe some tinsel, and you're about halfway to visualising the sort of eye candy on offer from Resogun. There are particles everywhere, bullets flying and enemies exploding, and even though the game's running just a bit too fast to take it all in, you're going to want to keep playing. And again, while we wanted to give you 5 great games to rush out and grab right now, we're making another exception.
Some chains can never be broken. I lost 15 years, buried alive, erased. You left me, rotting in that hellhole and never looked back. But you can't outrun the past. And when it catches up, when all your lies collapse around you, I'll be there, sifting through the wreckage. You owe me.
Naughty Dog and Sony have revealed that a brand new Uncharted adventure is headed exclusively to PlayStation 4. We don't know anything more about it, no release date, no hints of storyline or characters, but if the previous games are anything to go by, we're in for a treat whenever it arrives.
This is our day.
The PlayStation 4 is out now in most territories around the world, and there are more than 25 games available at either retail or via the PlayStation Network. If you didn't put down a pre-order, check with your local retailers. Most places have sold out already, but if you shop around, you might just get lucky.
These pirates have been found guilty of theft, treason, and murder, and are thus sentenced to be hanged from their necks until dead.
They will execute me in the morning, Edward. But they will never restrain you.
Ubisoft's quantum leaping franchise Assassin's Creed has had many historical backdrops since its release in 2007. We've diving shanked our way through the 12th century Crusades, purchased fine art with a side of dive shanking in Renaissance Italy, and rubbed elbows with famous revolutionary Americans, and then sorta shot them. Aerial assassinations were so $14.99 by then. So that begs the question, what's next? The answer? The sun-drenched seas of the Caribbean during the golden age of piracy, and with it, the best installment of the franchise so far. Just like a great ship needs a great captain, a compelling story needs a compelling protagonist, and by the beard of Poseidon, Assassin's Creed has finally decided to give us one. You play as the maverick buccaneer Edward Kenway, a man allured into piracy not only for the sweet plunder, but the idealistic dream of freedom from corrupt class structures he believes it will offer. This perfect balance of naivety and roguishness creates a truly likable and interesting character, one with far more personality than the cardboard cutouts with wrist blades we've become accustomed to in the series so far. The narrative in Black Flag is kind of at odds with itself, trying to tell two stories simultaneously and kind of suffering for it. When you're straight up pirating with historical sea salt ravaged badasses like Blackbeard and Calico Jack, it's an absolute blast. Your supporting cast of pirate brethren are absolutely laden with personality, breaking from the stereotypical trope of one-dimensional thieves that communicate in a variation of the word "arr." Black Flag offers insight into these men's lives that works on truly an emotional level that would see you sail with them to the world's end and back. The problem is, Black Flag wants you to remember that it's still an Assassin's Creed game too, and goes about this by jamming in as much of its convoluted lore and mystical MacGuffins as possible. Every moment I spent listening to forgettable faces going about the Templars this and the Brotherhood that made me wish I could just pull up anchor, go chill with Blackbeard and talk smack about the British. Possibly plundering a schooner on the way for good measure. Taking an almost throwaway mode from Assassin's Creed 3, Black Flag puts the nautical combat front and center here, and boy is it awesome. Nothing compares to the sense of freedom and adventure you feel as you hoist the mainsails and crash through waves, chartering the warm waters of this tropical paradise for booty and conquests. Raging seas aren't your only foe out on the briny drink, with Royal Navy and Spanish fleets patrolling for eye patch wearing miscreants to enforce a little justice upon, the only way they know how, with the volley of cannon fire. When the guns start firing, the excitement only escalates as you try to outmaneuver your pursuers and cripple them with your own arsenal of cannons and mortars, or even straight up smash into them. Once they're dead in the water, you can board them with all the flair of Errol Flynn, taking command of their vessel and with it its cargo, which you can spend on upgrades to make your ship the most feared on all the seven seas. As fun and badass as all that is, this is where the old Assassin's Creed downfalls rear their archaic heads again. The melee combat still hasn't changed, to the point where what should be an exciting swashbuckling brawl boils down to guards standing around, taking turns to attack, and be promptly counter-killed. It gets repetitive and dull really quickly, and unfortunately, this isn't the only thing from the past installments that's made its way back into the franchise. When you're not bothering British trading vessels and belting out sea shanties with your crew, Black Flag has an imperial ton of dry land to explore. Littered with side missions, collectibles, totally worth it for the awesome sea shanties by the way, and animals to hunt and craft for new weapons, Black Flag is not short of things for you to preoccupy yourself with. The downfall of trading in your sea legs is at the expense of having to deal with the series-spanning, semi-broken, free-running controls and repetitive story missions though. Assassin's Creed Black Flag is a wonderful, fun, and exhilarating pirate game. Hell, I'd go as far as to say it's the best pirate game. Yeah, I said it, Sid Meier fans. When you have the salty air in your virtual face and the wind in your sails, this game has so little to fault. It's just the attachment of the Assassin's Creed name and aging mechanics that lets it down. Despite this, I can look past its flaws most of the time because, you know what? Screw it. You're a pirate. The sense of adventure and fun I have felt has been unmatched in recent games. So my advice, grab an eye patch, put on your water wings, and pick this bad boy up. And soon you'll too agree, it's a pirate life for me.
You have any idea how embarrassing it is for me to keep arresting my own brother over and over again?
Maybe you should stop arresting your brother over and over and
You
over
think this
again.
is a joke?
No, I don't.
Is this how you want to leave your mark on the world, huh? Now look, for all we know, we may be able to pass you through their security, because you're not a normal viral terrorist. Seem to be getting the hang of your, new symptoms.
Right? And of course, the only downside being that, nope, can't think of anything. This is pretty freaking awesome.
Second Son is the story of Delson Rowe, and it's his origin story. We get to tell that. And it's a new hero, new story, new city to play in. It's a brand new game.
Oh, this fast healing stuff is gonna come in real handy.
Delson's adventure begins 7 years after the events of Infamous 1 and 2. Cole McGrath is no longer on Earth. However, there are still some conduits. And so the Department of Unified Protection, we affectionately call the DUP, has come on the scene to lock down the city of Seattle because a whole bunch of these conduits, which are humans with superhuman capabilities, have escaped into the city. And Delson Rowe has gotten the first one. He's an absorber of powers, right? And so he's reached into this transport vehicle that had these conduits in it, and like any good human, he reached in to basically help this person, and this person gave him powers. And now he's got these smoke powers, and he realizes that the other conduits who escaped, he can get those powers too. So he's off to Seattle. DUP's in Seattle. I think you can see how that all will weave together as a nice little story.
All right, I got this whole thing figured out. We hit the town, Maybe swing by the Space Needle, always wanted to see it, and then we're back home to save some lives.
You do realize when we hit the town, there's a fair chance the town's gonna, head back?
Well, it is an infamous title at its heart, okay, so I want to be first and foremost on that. However, it's Second Son. It's a game where you don't have to have played Infamous 1 and 2 to play this game. You're not going to have to worry about any of the storyline from the previous to play this game either. Now, as far as unique things you're going to be doing, well, you obviously have different powers. Since you're an absorber, you're not just going to have one, lightning. You're going to have smoke. We just teased neon, and you're going to have more powers as well. All these different power sets are unique in its nature. And the way you're going to get to each power set is that the way you drain in our game. If you drain smoke, you drain fire, you're going to have smoke powers. If you drain neon, signs and stuff, you're going to have neon power, so forth and so on. And it was important on the PS4 because, it's a launch title, it's a launch window right in there. So we get to play with new hardware. We get all this power and all this memory that now we can make a game at. So no longer are we constrained like we were in 1 and 2. The designers can go full tilt. Our coders and our artists can make what the designers actually intended. So that's what PS4 can bring to you. You're going to play our game and instantly you're going to see the environment and how lush and how full it is. I mean, that's the sense. We can just cram so much more into our environment. It makes a real world feel realistic. I mean, the only thing not realistic in our world is the powers themselves. And that's the reality we wanted to create. So the more we can get the environment itself to look realistic, the better off we are.
Player Attack is sponsored by the Daleks.
And that's about it for this edition of Player Attack. Thanks for watching. I have one very quick correction to make. Last week we said that Minecraft was not coming to PlayStation. As the viewer Vince O'Brien pointed out, that is completely incorrect. Mojang and 4J Studios have actually been working hard on versions of the blocky world builder for PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 and Vita. We must have missed the memo, so thanks for picking it up. Next week, it is our final episode of Player Attack for the year, and we've put together a bit of a holiday gift guide for those of you still thinking about presents to give your loved ones. In the meantime, you can catch us on playerattack.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and if you've got something you want to say, send us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com, or just hop on our forums. Till next week, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this is Player Attack.